In January 1493, somewhere off the coast of Hispaniola, Christopher Columbus recorded in his log that he had seen three mermaids rise out of the sea. He describes them at length, the way a man writes down something he expects to be questioned about later. And then he adds a complaint that has survived 500 years, that they were nowhere near as beautiful as the paintings had led him to believe. Sit with that for a second. A man reports mermaids, and his objection is that they were ugly. He was not inventing it, and he was not the only one. For 400 years, the same report keeps arriving from crews who had no contact with each other. A body in the water, upright, holding something, a face that turns to look at you, and then it goes under. These were not credulous men. A working sailor in the 15th century read the surface of the ocean for a living. Currents, weather, the shape of a swell over a shoal. His survival depended on identifying things correctly at distance. When that man writes down that he saw something he cannot name, he is not telling you the sea is full of magic. He is telling you he saw an animal, and that it did not fit anything he knew. So what were they seeing? Start with the animal that turns up wherever the sightings cluster warm and shallow. It reaches 4 meters and weighs upward of 500 kilograms. It has no hind limbs whatsoever. Its forelimbs are flippers, and inside those flippers are finger bones, the full set, shortened but unmistakably there, which it uses with a delicacy that surprises people who have only seen it in photographs. It pulls food toward its mouth. It braces against a current. It holds things, including its own calf. This animal nurses at the surface. The mother rises until her head and chest clear the water, tucks the calf against her body with one flipper, and stays there while it feeds. Her mammary glands sit behind the flippers, roughly where you would expect to find them on a human. Her eyes are small and set forward. Her upper lip is split into two mobile halves covered in stiff whiskers she works like fingers. Below the waterline, the body narrows into a flat paddle of tail. Now stand on a wooden deck in 1493. You have been at sea 4 months. The light is coming off the water at an angle that flattens everything into silhouette. Somewhere between 50 and 100 meters out, a large gray animal lifts its upper body clear of the surface, holds an infant to its chest with what is plainly an arm, turns its head, looks directly at you, and then rolls forward and disappears with a fluke. You are not going to write down that you saw a cow. It was a manatee. Columbus saw manatees, and the men who came after him saw manatees, and the zoologists who eventually classified the group knew exactly what had been happening. They named the entire order Sirenia, after the sirens. That is not a coincidence anyone tried to hide. It is the taxonomy admitting the resemblance out loud. Its relative in the Indian Ocean makes the case worse. The dugong has a properly fluked tail, split into 2 lobes like a dolphin's. Its Malay name is Duyung, which means Lady of the Sea. Nobody in the Malay archipelago was working from Greek myth or European painting. They looked at the same family of animal and arrived at the same idea independently, on the opposite side of the world. Which handles the woman in the water, and leaves the other reports completely unexplained. Because a large part of the record is not a woman at all. It is a long silver thing that thrashes. On 13th October 2013, a marine science instructor named Jasmine Santana was snorkeling off Catalina Island when she saw something shining on the bottom in about 5 meters of water. She swam down expecting a piece of debris. What she found was an oarfish, dead, roughly 5.5 meters long. She got hold of it and swam it back toward shore by hand, and when she reached the beach, it took 15 people to drag the body out of the surf. The oarfish is the longest bony fish in the ocean. Confirmed specimens reach 8 meters, with credible accounts running longer. Its body is a compressed silver ribbon with no scales, so it catches light like foil. A crimson dorsal fin runs the entire length of it, and off the head rises a crest of long red rays. It lives between 200 and 1,000 meters down, and it swims vertically, head up, hanging in the water column. Which means almost nobody in history has ever seen a healthy one. They stay deep. They come up when something has already gone wrong, and then they thrash, because they are dying. A 6-meter silver ribbon convulsing at the surface with a red crest streaming off its skull, in front of a crew with no word for it. Japanese tradition calls the oarfish Ryugu no Tsukai, messenger from the dragon god's palace, and holds that a stranding warns of an earthquake to come. Norse sailors called it the king of herrings. Every sea serpent account in the historical record that mentions a mane, or a great length, or a writhing motion has a real candidate sitting underneath it. And unlike most legendary animals, this one can still be photographed. The next one to wash up somewhere will be by somebody who thinks they have found a monster. The northern reports work differently again, and they explain why the folklore up there has a different flavor. Harbor seals do something called bottling. The animal hangs vertically in the water, motionless, with nothing above the surface but its head. It will hold that position for a long time. Its eyes are large, dark, and set forward on the skull, and at any distance past a few meters the face reads as disturbingly human. They vocalize, too, and some of those calls carry a long way across open water in a register that people consistently describe as a voice rather than a bark. Scottish and Irish coastal communities produced the selkie, a seal that comes ashore, sheds its skin, and walks as a person. Those stories came from people who watched seals every day of their lives, who saw a face looking steadily back at them from the water, and who filled the gap between what they were seeing and what they could account for. And here is the thing that should be strange but usually gets skipped. Greek sirens, Malay Dugong, Scottish selkies, Japanese ningyo, the fish person whose flesh was supposed to grant centuries of life. Assyrian records from around 1000 BC. These cultures were not trading stories. Most of them had no idea the others existed. But the same figure keeps assembling itself independently on coastlines that never spoke. A human upper body, a marine lower body, watching from just offshore. That is not evidence of mermaids. It is evidence of something much more mundane and much more interesting. Put human beings next to any ocean on this planet, and the sirenians and the seals and the oarfish will do what they have always done. And the people watching will reach for the only category they have. The legend recurs because the animals recur. The myth is global because the biology is global. By the 19th century, somebody worked out how to sell it. In 1842, P.T. Barnum exhibited the Fiji mermaid in New York. A shriveled brown object, about a meter long, advertised with illustrations of a beautiful woman and displayed to enormous queues. The object was the head and torso of a juvenile monkey stitched to the body of a large fish, with the seam concealed under dried skin. Barnum had not made it. It came out of Japan, from a craft tradition producing exactly this for the ningyo trade. The hoax worked because his audience was already primed. Sailors had been filing the reports for 400 years. So, are mermaids real? No. Nobody has ever found one, and nobody is going to. But the question was pointed the wrong way the entire time. Something was always in the water. Every sighting in that record has a real animal underneath it. And those animals are not extinct or hypothetical or hiding at depths we cannot reach. Manatees are nursing calves at the surface in Florida rivers this morning. Dugongs are grazing seagrass in the Pacific in numbers that keep falling. An oarfish is hanging vertically in the twilight zone somewhere right now, except for one of them. In 1741, a naturalist named Georg Steller was shipwrecked on an uninhabited island in the Bering Sea, and while he was stranded there, he described a sirenian nobody had ever documented. A cold water relative of the manatee, 9 meters long, weighing as much as 10 tons. It grazed kelp in the shallows. It could not fully submerge. It floated at the surface, vast and slow. And it showed no fear of people at all, because nothing in its history had ever taught it to. Steller described it in 1741. The last one was killed in 1768. 27 years. Fur traders working the northern route stopped there for meat, and the animal made it effortless. It floated. It did not run, and one carcass fed a crew for weeks. The largest sirenian that ever lived went from scientific discovery to gone inside a single human career. And what remains of it is one man's notes and some bones in a museum. So the story outlived the animal by 250 years and counting. That is the part worth sitting with. Not whether something impossible is out there in the dark. Whether the real thing will still be there when we finally get round to looking properly.